In the Ameren, Illinois pregame show, I'm Nathan Baliva in front of our dugout. We're going to do things a little differently today. We're actually going to do two different interviews. We're going to have a little bit of fun with them. We've got Brent Neuharth, our athletic trainer, out here first, and Brian O'Keefe, our player of the game from last night, will join us as well. But we had Brent scheduled to go, and it took, 131 games to get you out here. So we had to go ahead and go as scheduled, and Brian's just got to wait his turn, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was ready day one, but my publicist kind of held out, so.
Yeah, your publicist, which is why we're on Snapchat right now, too, is do a little bit of everything out here. Brent is the athletic trainer. Let's just start right there. And obviously, the training part, I think, to people is pretty self-explanatory. When guys get hurt, you're the one taking care of them. But in the minor leagues, being an athletic trainer means a whole lot more than that. You're coordinating travel and a whole lot of other things. What is a typical day for you like when we're here at home?
Well, I usually wake up and get a text about somebody getting injured and them needing to know how long they're going to be out. But then you come in, you got to set up your training room, get ready for treatment and all that stuff. And then you got to start planning ahead. You know, we're here 6 days, but then we hit the road. So we got to do all the travel coordinating with the buses, the hotels, stuff like that. And with playoffs right around the corner, we're really working hard on trying to get that as organized as we can without knowing our seating at this time, but trying to get that done. And, that's a lot of the small things that a trainer's got to do that not many people know about outside of the injury part.
Even in the rare time when there is nobody injured, which, throughout an entire season, we might have, it seems like a day or two where there's nobody on the injury report. You've still got plenty to do because the pitchers, especially the starting pitchers, they need some attention before they come out and pitch, like Matt Pierce this evening. Relievers on days when they might throw or they throw a bullpen, they need some work too. What do you do, in general with those guys? I know each player is different and takes their own thing, but the Cardinals have got some programs for you as well.
Yeah, we have a general outline of what each pitcher is supposed to do, but really you got to look at each guy and see how he recovers, where this guy gets sore versus another guy, and really work on their individual needs so that they can recover. A reliever could have to go a night or two in a row, and they got to be able to recover and go out there for a couple innings there. With the starting pitcher, you got a few days there where you get to recover, and then you got to throw a bullpen, another couple days, and then you got another game. So it's really working on each individual's guy's recovery and trying to get that back on track as quickly as possible.
And then when guys get promoted, or if we're getting a guy and somebody else is getting sent down early in the year back to extended now to State College of Johnson City, that kind of falls on your shoulders too. Joe will come in. Obviously somebody outside is actually booking the flight, but you take care of it all on this end and make sure that they know when they're leaving or when somebody new is coming in.
Yeah, exactly. We get the flight info, and then we got to get the guy to the airport. We got to make sure he's in there on time because chances are he's got to play that night wherever he's going. So he's got to get there on time. And then also just communicating with that other staff, letting the manager know when he's going to be there, letting that trainer know any issues, what his needs are as he comes there, so it can be a smooth transition to the other team and all that work.
And you were with Johnson City last year, Gulf Coast League the year before, now going through a full season league. I've asked the players that have gone through it, what's been the biggest transition for them going through a full season, 140 games as opposed to 70. How about for you? What's been the biggest transition going through a 140 game season?
The big thing is you hit 70 games and all of a sudden you realize that those short seasons are starting.
Yeah.
And you thought it was a grind the years before, with 50-some games in Gulf Coast and 76 or whatever we played in Johnson City, and you realize that's half of your season here, and you really get to put it in perspective what the full season clubs and all the way up to the big leagues, what it takes to do 140 to 162 games.
I know it takes a lot to beat me in Mountain Dew consumption, but I finally met somebody who drinks more Mountain Dew than I do. You got any kind of tally what your Mountain Dew consumption is for the season?
I think you got to talk to Patrick. He hooks me up and brings the Mountain Dew to me. But
oh, he brings it to you? That's how that works?
You got to be nice to the clubby and he'll help you out. So he hooks me up, and I couldn't even put a ballpark figure on how many it takes me to get through a season.
I think it took 13 years for me to find somebody to knock me down in the consumption of the Mountain Dew. We get ready now for the playoffs first, but then the offseason. For a lot of the players, the offseason doesn't really start right away. And for you, it doesn't really start right away either. You got a little bit of instructs down in Florida with the Cardinals, and then a big nod for you, a big assignment, the Arizona Fall League, and working with the prospects, and quite an honor for you. So you've got quite the busy fall on your schedule whenever our playoffs end.
Yeah, I thought I'd be done sometime middle of September there, but get to head out and get a new experience out there in Arizona and get to work with some guys that are really, high on some people's lists, and get to see some people from other organizations and work with them and get that experience, So you hear that your season's going to continue for a little longer, and you keep going. But it's a great experience, and I'm excited to head out there.
With your background, football in North Carolina and in Wisconsin, some basketball at those two schools as well, what's the biggest difference in baseball and working with those guys? Obviously a smaller roster than football, but a little bit larger roster than basketball. So how does that kind of fit in and compare to those sports?
I mean, football is mass chaos 24/7. You got 120 guys flowing through the room, but the good thing about football is you got another week to get these guys ready. You know, baseball's a 24-hour turnaround, and you got to decide if a guy can go that next day, whereas football, you can work throughout that week to get a guy ready for Saturday. And it's just a little different with the number of games, the timing of it all, but having a little smaller team makes it a little nicer.
I'm glad your publicist finally allowed you to come be a part of the pregame show here. I know you got to help some of these guys get ready for the game tonight. We're going to bring up O'Keefe as our part of the game. But, Brent, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Brent Neuharth, our athletic trainer, working behind the scenes with the coaching staff throughout the season with the Chiefs as he helps these guys get ready game in and game out. We're going to have Brian O'Keefe, catcher DH with the Chiefs, come up. Our Pekin Insurance Beyond the Expected Player of the Game from last night. 3 hits, 3 RBI, and was it yesterday? Brian said, hey, what do I got to do to get on the pregame show? And I said, hit 2 home runs. First at bat, you took me seriously. First at bat, you go deep with a 2-run homer. Did you think you actually had to hit 2 to come up here?
I don't know. I mean, I think there was one where I hit a walk-off earlier in the year, and we didn't have the post-game interview or the
right.
pregame interview the next day. So this is the first time I was able to get up here.
Yeah, well, you asked yesterday, and then I told you, hey, be player of the game. I'll get you up here, and you delivered. So 3 hits and a home run, a couple RBI in yesterday's game, and today DHing for you. What's the biggest difference for you on a day where you see DH next to your name or catcher next to your name when Joe puts the lineup together?
When you catch, it's kind of actually easier to forget about a bad at bat or your struggles at the plate because you can go out there and catch and affect the game in other ways. Whereas if you DH, you're strictly there just to help the team offensively. So, I kind of find ways to entertain myself on the bench in between at bats, whether it's talking to guys or joking around, and trying to honestly just kind of keep myself distracted so I don't drive myself crazy.
With this lineup too, probably doesn't matter where you see your name, and Alex is out today, so you're up in the 4 spot. Is there any kind of difference for you at all? Because it seems like with this lineup, no matter whether you're batting where you've been, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 1 or 2 guys on base for you to knock in.
Yeah, it's I've been put in some good situations because the guys in front of me have gotten on base,
right.
and that's the mark of a good team. I think you see Daly's getting on, Harrison's getting on, Paulie's getting on, and the other thing that has allowed me to have some success is I don't feel like I have to do too much because if I'm struggling, then Bader or Paulie or Daly or whoever else is in the lineup that day is going to find a way to drive in some runs.
You mentioned Harrison and Paul DeYoung, and they got here right before you did. And your first game, I think we had a bus breakdown, right? And then, then we went out and scored like 14 or 15 runs. You had a homer,
yeah.
So I was like, hey, maybe we should do this every day. But you guys jumped into this team right when we were starting to get going, and obviously Thursday culminated with clinching a playoff spot. But what you guys kind of brought that spark into this lineup. Did you feel that way? I guess maybe a week or so after you guys got here and realized, wow, since I've been here, we've been playing really good baseball.
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, when you see your name in the lineup, you're just trying to help the team win any way you can.
Right.
And I don't think it's been one guy or the other. I think what's really cool, like I said about this team, is it's always a new guy a different night.
Yep.
And you never know who's it going to be that tonight or tomorrow, but somebody's going to step up and have a big game offensively. And on top of that is we don't pitch, and our pitchers have been doing an unbelievable job keeping us in games, and that's one of the big reasons we've been having some success in winning games.
You get in there and work with these starting pitchers the way they've been going, and no matter who you throw out there, the way they've been pitching, what's it like catching with those guys and they get into the groove? Gomber the other day when you were behind the plate in Quad Cities, whether it's been Pierce, part of his record without issuing any walks, and the way Flaherty and McKinney have pitched since they got here too. I mean, catching them's got to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at this entire staff, I mean, you're looking at quality starts
right.
every single night. You're going to have a guy go 6, 7 innings, maybe give up a run or 2, but not more than that. And that keeps us in the ball game, and then we turn it over to our pen. And it's, you got guys from the 7th, 8th, and then you got Grant in the 9th.
Yeah.
Usually it's going to shut the door down. So when you have that, it's pretty easy to work with those guys.
The experience you guys went through as we finish up here on the pregame show, the experience you guys went through last September in State College. We got to have the first celebration last Thursday. Obviously, you guys want to have a couple more of those as we get into September. How do you draw on that experience from last September, especially if we go up against the Quad Cities team, which is the same team for the most part you guys played last year?
You know, Quad Cities is a good team. You know, King County's a good team.
Right.
Cedar Rapids is a good team, but we're a pretty good team ourselves. And, you know, it's going to be a fun playoff series. And, you know, I think one of the cool things about last year for us and the first-year guys and for the guys who won championships, it taught us how to win in pressure situations. It taught us how to, you know, how to handle that when it came down to it. So I think being able to draw on that is certainly going to help us through our postseason run here.
And that'll start next Wednesday, either here at home or up in King County. Brian, thanks for the time. Good luck out there today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Brian O'Keefe, who is our Pekin Insurance Beyond the Expected Player of the Game from last night with 3 hits and 3 RBI. Don't forget, we continue this series against Cedar Rapids tomorrow. Again, $1 tickets for tomorrow with $1 hot dogs and, $1 nachos and $1 popcorn. The $1 hot dogs kick in on Wednesday, and $1 beers to look forward to on Thursday. Big fireworks show coming up Friday with Fan Appreciation Day as well, and a bunch of giveaways throughout the night. You can stop up at the box office, get those playoff tickets for either the 9th or the 10th. We don't know yet which night we'll be home against King County, but you can stop up to the box office and get those playoff tickets. Thanks for spending your Monday with us here at Dozer Park.